Well, see, that's the whole thing that goes into the segue of turn-ons. Because who set the standard for what is attractive and what's unattractive? Who said that a big nose is ugly? You know what I'm saying? Who said a big nose is something that you should see as a negative in a person? Who said the fat rolls was something that you should see as a negative in a person? Who said that a fat booty was something that was attractive? You know what I'm saying? So who made all these? I want to know, because when you go back and beautiful she was, you know what I'm saying? Like we were just saying, man, Eve could have looked just like Adam in the face. Only difference, she had some titties and she had, you know, the vajayjay. But she could have looked just like Adam in the face. So we don't know. And they state how this woman was beautiful and that woman was beautiful, but based on what standards? Because if you look at back in the days, man, they didn't have toothbrushes. I'm pretty sure they kept their hygiene up as much as they could. They didn't have no deodorant, and they was out there in the fields and they was getting dirty most of the day, so they didn't walk around with no designer on and stuff like that. So, during the time of the creation of civilization, they wasn't afforded those opportunities to have all of that. Their beauty was raw. You know what I'm saying? When you see her, the beauty that you saw was just her out there. Hey, she cute. You know what I'm saying? Her features. It didn't have to do with a whole bunch of accents. It didn't have to do with no shiny jewelry. It didn't have to do nothing with her hair being tied up. Certain none of that stuff like that. It was just about her raw attractiveness. And same thing with the dudes. You know what I'm saying? You out there working all day. Naturally, you're not gonna be a slob. But who said that ripples and muscles was the standard for attractiveness? You know what I'm saying? It's some ladies out there who like fat dudes with pot bellies. There's some ladies out there who like short dudes. There's some ladies out there who, you know what I'm saying? Everybody got their own preferences and stuff like that. Nobody really marries a person, that fantasy person that they have in their mind. Because if you married that fantasy person that you had in your mind, truth be told, you would spend most of your day worried about if somebody else is trying to holler at them or somebody trying to take them away from. So I wouldn't even want my fantasy person because my fantasy person would drive me crazy with jealousy. So yeah, and people, they sit out here and they lie to themselves. All of that stuff sound good. It sound real good. Yeah, I want this in a person. I want that in a person, and all of these qualities that we claim we be wanting in a person. If we actually had somebody with all of those qualities, our insecurities wouldn't even allow us to be with them because we'll feel inadequate all the time if we can't measure up to what they doing, and we would push ourselves away from them. That's what we do most of the time. So I don't even know why people gas themselves up and say stuff like that when they know that they wouldn't even feel secure to be around that type of person. So just be real about your expectations. It always go back to balance. It always go right back to balance, bro. Yeah, because if I was to have somebody that was like me and did all the things that I did and shared in all the things that I did, we would not be together long. Period. Absolutely not. No, I definitely wouldn't have them. I mean, let's let people be honest with themselves. Now, I ain't saying I'm out here doing nothing crazy and nothing like that, but I know I'm a hard person to get along with, and if I had somebody who thought like me and treated me or was condescending and sarcastic to me the way that I am to people, yeah, we wouldn't be around each other that long. We would have to do each other in spurts. Pause. You know what I'm saying? I could, yeah, I definitely couldn't see that. So I would never give myself no false thoughts of wanting somebody like me. No, I want somebody that's going to be my balance in those areas where I'm weak. That's where they're strong at. You know what I'm saying? In the areas where they're weak, that's where I'm strong at. That way we can balance each other out. That's why I say everything always comes back to balance, man. Balance is the key to a life, period. That is like the binding of the book. If you don't have that, the pages are gonna fall out, and you know what I'm saying, you ain't gonna have no cover. So maintaining that balance, man. But people don't even seek that no more. They was just doing a study the other day, and they was talking about Generation Z and how they approach relationships and stuff, and it's just like no courting period, but don't nobody court. I mean, you 9 times out of 10, it's like you'll meet somebody either through a friend of a friend, or you meet them at work, or like whatever social places that you frequent. That's more than likely where you meet your spouse or whoever you end up being with. Those few social circles, especially with throughout your community, you have the church, you have your job, and you have like the school because you have to go, so there's so many. Those social circles is where you find most of your relationships. Now, like when you start out in school, because I know that there's some people who talk about homeschooling their children, and a lot of times homeschooling gets a bad stigma on it because they be like the kids are going to suffer from social anxiety and they're not going to know how to interact properly with people. But no, I've seen children who've been homeschooled and they have a better grasp on how to socialize properly with people than the ones who are out here, because the ones out here really just get thrown out to the wolves and they're figuring it out as they go along. And a lot of times the examples that they see from the grown-ups is not a good example because the grown-ups can't even keep it together. And I'm talking about all the way across the board, educators in every facet. Because if you look at it, everybody is an educator whenever a child is coming up, because the child is just soaking up all of the information based off of the images that's projected in front of them on a regular basis. And so everyone that they come in contact that frequently is their teacher. So as they go through life and the things that they pick up and see and hear, and they're going to take some things to heart, and they're going to just wait to see on other things, because like I said, you can tell a child something as many times as you want to, but until they actually see it being done by you, demonstrated in your day-to-day life, those are the things that they make habit of. And so we as parents and grown-ups, we have to be mindful of that when we're doing certain things, because that's a part of a relationship. Like if I'm around I know things about my wife she don't even have to say. Like when I go to the store, she don't have to tell me what to bring her back, because I know what my wife wants from the store. Because we spend it's, it's been that much time that we spent with each other. We've been around each other for that long, uh, and it wasn't like that in the beginning, because like I said, when I was in the military, when I first got married, I like we got married on October the 6th, and I was gone to basic training probably like 2 3 weeks later, and I was gone for a while because my basic training AIT together was well over 5 or 6 months. And so in that um, we were apart for I say the first 2 or 3 years of our marriage, and then y'all trying to work something out. Yeah. So like first 3 years of our marriage, yeah, I was gone just with my unit and different missions and stuff like that. But when I got home and actually settled down and we really, really got used to being around each other on a regular basis, because that's one thing about the military. When you're gone a lot, you get so used to you have to adapt to the situation, and the situation was you have to get used to being by yourself and doing things independently. And then when you come back together, then you're gonna have to work just as hard to start to rely back on each other, getting used to being like, oh, okay, well, she got this, or so the reintegration process is tough. I'll just say that. But as you do, and as you grow, and as you get to understand different things about each other that you generally didn't know in the beginning process, then that's what makes it stronger. That's what makes it durable. That's what makes it worth fighting for. So yeah, man, I wouldn't change 1 minute of it, man. Um it's been one of my greatest accomplishments. I can say that definitely. And people have to examine the value of your relationship before you even invest emotionally into it. That's one thing that I say. Weigh the cost, weigh the cost before you start to emotionally invest into a situation, because what I see happening a lot of times is people will get emotionally invested into someone really quick without paying any attention to the red flags, because they want so much for this to work, and they want so much for this to be the person that they've been looking for, and they'll bypass the first steps, and they'll go ahead and jump into being emotionally invested in this person that they don't even know yet. And as that person starts to reveal themselves over time, now you're stuck. So now you're stuck in a situation, and by you leaving this situation, you feel like you're losing something, as opposed to giving yourself an opportunity to step back and just, okay, is this what I really want? Because I'm seeing some things that, you know, and so what they're saying is that the younger generation are not taking that time, but at the same time, they're also not staying in abusive relationships like older past generations have done, which is one of the upsides, because that means that they keep them and maintain a certain level of mental health and emotional health, because they don't put themselves through all of that stuff. So, I say that we can integrate a little bit of both. This is where the balance comes into play, because where the younger ones are not taking the time to really, really, I guess you would say, vet dudes before they let them into their life and into their world. That's where the OGs can help out with that. But as far as letting go of toxic relationships and not enduring and putting your kids through some crazy stuff just because you don't want to let go, that's where the younger generation can help some of the older ones. So if we could actually humble ourselves and meet in the middle, and put our egos aside and quit trying to hide what's really going on, and say, I need some help on this, because that's one thing. Older people got to stop having too much pride. Pride is a deadly thing, man. Sometimes we will take it out of context a lot of times, because pride can definitely mean two different things. You can have a certain level of pride in yourself, which means, you have a standard and hold yourself to a standard and an expectation, which is a good thing. But at the same time, you can have so much of a standard, or a high expectations for yourself that's unrealistically for you to obtain, and you'll start to put pressure on yourself, and unnecessary pressure, and then that leads to depression. And I know this because I've dealt with kids who experience this. You'll have a parent who was a good athlete, or a world class athlete or something like that, and they have a situation in life. Maybe it's you being born, and they have to let their dream go. And now they're going to live vicariously through you. And as a coach, I had parents out there who was doing that to their children, and all the child wanted to do was just please the parent. But the pressure and the immense amount of pressure that the parent was putting on that child to do what that parent never accomplished, and that parent felt like that child owed them because they gave up their dream, because of their irresponsibleness of not having protected sex. So they're going to put that burden on that child because they don't want to be held accountable for knowing that if you have sex unprotected, that you can make a baby, but go ahead and doing it anyway because you was caught up in the moment. They're going to put that whole burden on that child and be out there pushing that child past what's realistic for him to do or her to do. Yeah, and that's the way. And this is a relationship dynamic between parent and child that has a lot of kids numb to sympathy and empathy towards their parents. That's why there was a show they had called Killer Kids, and these were all real stories of children who murdered their parents or their grandparents. You know what I'm saying? Whoever their guardians were, I say allegedly, they allegedly murdered these people. But it just goes to show how commonplace it became that they were able to have seasons of this show. So that shows you that there's a lot of children out there who has um, relationship issues and boundary issues with their parent, to the point of they feel like the only way out is to end their lives and stuff. And I have a personal experience I've shared in probably a couple of episodes. I got about a little over 500 episodes now. So if you sift through some of those, you can find where I talk about this kid that I knew personally who got out of a like a behavioral program and went and murdered his parents because of the resentment and all of those things like that. So there are different relationship dynamics that we as people have to look at in ourselves, and we project onto other people, because that's the main part of the division that I see as a collective in this country, is that we're angry at people for not being like us and thinking like us and wanting to look like us and trying to be on the same level and obtain the same things that we are trying to obtain. These are the things that are just ridiculous to me, and I don't understand. I've had because evidence that was found based on second or third hand information that they read somewhere, and they'll say that this is all fact, and they will argue me like I am stupid for doing the same exact thing in my research and coming to a different conclusion based on the people that I and I stand with that and I feel swayed by that, but they'll call me stupid for going through the exact same process. They will call me stupid for going through the exact same process. And so my question then becomes, who's right and who's wrong? Going in the garage. Who's right and who's wrong? That's really the only question that can come from that. And that's based on opinion. So most people are arguing opinion as if it's fact, and they're getting angry with each other to the point to where they're storming buildings, they're threatening to kill people, and they're killing people in order to get them to think like they are. So this is where we are. This is the mentality of the people.